a new DJ name. I'm going to be the Goyim Golem.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Alien Familiar RPG Podcast. I am Clayton.
I'm Jordan.
Kyle Perkins.
I'm Lanina.
I'm Nina.
KD.
And for some reason today we decided to go counterclockwise instead of clockwise, which we have always done in the past.
This feels wrong. Actually, just kidding. We're podcasting from Australia, mates. I got some Fosters. All right, well, I'll see myself out.
Classic Australian beer.
No one drinks that there.
It's a US beer.
It's kind of like how nobody drinks Lone Star in Texas.
Lone Star is a great beer. Okay, we digress.
It's all getting cut.
I want to remind our listeners that you can find show notes and more at alienfamiliar.com. You can email us at alienfamiliarmedia@gmail.com, and we are on Facebook at facebook.com/alienfamiliar. And our topic for today is going to be the Magocracy, the politics and economics of arcane civilizations. And whenever we talk about Magocracy, we are talking about a system of government, system of society in which magic not only is real, but those that practice magic in some way make up the ruling class or the major movers and shakers of the world. And we'll kind of give some different scenarios talking about how in some instances, mages, there are a few very powerful mages who are just manipulating everything, and we'll also talk about a potential world in which magic is very diffuse amongst the population, where a lot of people just have the ability to cast very low-level spells, but the more powerful people in the world are literally more powerful because they can cast magical spells. I think we're going to start with talking about just a basis of the world and how magic from the onset is going to completely change the way that civilization progresses, the way it is even founded. Because even in the days of hunter-gatherers, having a druid who can cast the first level spell Goodberry and is able to cast this spell that produces food and nourishment for 10 people all by themselves in a hunter-gatherer society would completely change the way everything going forward would progress.
And give them all one hit point to heal up all those minor abrasions that would get infected and wipe out a ton of them.
So what would a hunter-gatherer society that neither hunts nor gathers look like here?
Well, you would still need to gather the requisite 10 berries in order to cast the spell.
Okay.
But compared to finding enough food for 10 people, finding 10 berries is going to be pretty damn easy.
Now, can you create, like, a good saber-tooth steak? Or is this going to be, like, just a bunch of fucking vegan fare?
Yeah, it's a food pill, each of these berries.
Yes.
It's literally one berry that feeds you for a day.
That sounds awful.
And heals it.
People are still going to want to go hunt some, like, antelope and cook them.
You're bringing up another spell, which is, in 3rd edition, was called Gentle Repose. You could cast this, and no decay happens on a dead body for an entire day. So, essentially, in hunter-gatherer times, you would have the equivalent of refrigeration.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
You go take down a mammoth and cast that, and for an entire day, you completely strip this thing, and there's no rush about it. There are still predators to fend off. They're going to come and pick at your, refrigerated carcass.
Potentially magical predators.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Placer beasts and other copyrighted creatures.
Does it stack? Like, can you do it day after day and make it work?
The spell lasts for a day, and after that day, you can cast it again.
That's pretty... Wow.
So, just immediate elimination of scarcity. Is this what we're talking about, correct? Would capitalism develop at all?
I think that society would develop rapidly because we stuck to that, 50 to 150 person, band for a long time because of limits of resources in a region. And as soon as we could produce a lot, the population started exploding from there. So I think you get complex society really, really quickly. Whether or not that would involve a market economy of any sort is a different matter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the economy would be entirely based on goods and services rather than based on being able to produce things. Because either magic would so enhance an individual's ability to create things, or the magic itself would just create it, that you no longer have to worry about putting as much resources into production. I mean, in ancient times, all the way up until modern times, production of all of the things that you need has been an incredible employer, from growing food to mining resources to harvesting lumber. All of these really labor-intensive things would be done by just a few people with access to relatively low-powered spells. I mean, you have spells that at very low levels that you can cast, and it removes all of an individual's fatigue. So you're essentially using workers around the clock. The use of spells like light means that you don't have to put all of that work into creating candles so that you can do things after dark. So in every way, it completely revolutionized the way that society is built and goes forward.
But we're still talking armies of slaves building pyramids. They're just tireless and they can work at dark. And if they don't have magic themselves, there's not a damn thing they can do about it.
And as soon as they die, they get reanimated and then work indefinitely.
They work until they literally fall apart.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow. Do you let them reproduce?
Yeah, you have
The
to.
zombies?
No, the people while they're still alive.
You would have to make them reproduce, because then you would eventually run out of zombies.
So we can look at this like a Matrix argument. You could, like, do all this magically, or you could give people, like, the illusion of a life, so they, like, get to go marry and have kids and whatnot. They're probably going to be happier and therefore less likely to, like, attempt, revolt. So you might still let people, like, have family units, but really you just work for 100 years, and then you work for another 100 years as your body decays as a zombie.
We jumped straight into the slave thing, and I have a question before we get there. Who or what decides who has magic? Are people, just curious, are people born with it? Do they learn it?
Oh, we didn't. We should have mentioned that. Like, there are obviously different systems that have different ways to acquire magic.
3.5 has both. Because if you're playing a sorcerer, it's innate to you. But if you're playing a wizard, you got it through study.
And if you're playing a cleric, you receive it from a
God.
deity.
Yeah.
And if you're playing a druid, you...
Trees,
I don't
man.
know. Yeah.
I think the example we just jumped into would be what would happen in a society where you're born with magic, you got it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have it, you're never going to get it. Kind of like my sense of style.
I think that's sort of the dark timeline. Because a world in which...
No, you go.
A world in which people can study magic offers such more possibilities. Like, yes, you may eventually reach a point where elites are like, well, we can't let this knowledge get passed on. And then it's like, then you have Prometheus figures popping up there, like giving magic back to the masses sort of deal.
Or it would be like the university system in America where knowledge is a fake, scarce good, where people have access to it and some people don't, which is...
It's true, too. I think that, like, I don't know, in this slave-ridden reality that's being crafted here, you have to also factor in that the more that magic is centered in, like, the highest point, human ingenuity is something that's, like, undersold pretty often. Like, if you go on prison tours, they'll show you, like, all the stuff that, like, inmates make for weapons or to escape. I would be hard-pressed to say, even with the idea of magic, that some sort of form of anti-magical practice or discipline does not begin to show up in an effort to combat magical ability. Now, I don't know how exactly that would work. I don't know if maybe someone at the top tells people that aren't magical how best to fight magic users, or if they figure it out through trial and error. But you're eventually going to see that, like, one way or another.
Well, in either way, non-magic users without that Prometheus figure, they don't have a chance. They don't have a chance. Like a massive horde of non-magic users versus a few high-level wizards and sorcerers.
Fireball.
They're gonna get boned.
I think that regardless of what the origin of the magic is, be it innate or learned, the first mover advantage is so great for, who realizes this power and taps it, pretty much locks it down.
Mm-hmm.
If it's, arcane knowledge, then they create that hidden cabal and determine, at what gradations people learn what, and that whole thing. You have some kind of pharaoh sort of system really quickly, one dude on top doling it out as he sees fit. If it's innate thing, then it's going to be, the aristocracy or the casting class, and everybody else is just kind of there at their pleasure.
So we're fixating a lot on, ancient Egypt here. Is there a particular reason? Do we think that's the closest real-world analogy to Magocracy?
I just got us off on this pyramid thing because I don't know how history works. So in my mind, we had a bunch of hunter-gatherers walking around, and then all of a sudden some dude with a cat head and another dude with
pyramids.
A peregrine head, they come down and they're just like, build pyramids. And someone's like, yeah, alright dude, you got a bird head, that's cool.
I'm not sure that's how history...
That's not how the Egyptian deities work, but that's okay.
You're telling me it's not some dude with a bird head and some dude with a cat head?
I'm exactly telling you that, those, on a tangent since you asked, it's a depiction of the duality. They either appeared as a cat or as a person. They never actually appeared to the Egyptian people as cat-headed person or jackal-headed person.
They're not like minotaurs? And
No,
stuff?
they're not, if you're wondering.
Moving
on.
Aren't there actual paintings of humanoid bodies and animal head?
Yeah, and it's to depict the duality of that god. It can appear as both, and they want you to know that, this is the god we're talking about.
Huh.
That's just one more thing that Stargate lied to us about.
Yeah, that really bums me out.
Well, no, it's a common misconception.
And everything I know about Egypt, I know from Stargate.
Oh, no!
The film or the
And
entire,
Norse mythology also?
I'm not Daniel Jackson. But I keep talking about Egypt because that's just where I went with this idea of a slave class being forced to build a wonder. That's why I went there.
It sounds very dystopian.
Well, slavery, as awful as it was, it fucking worked. Every ancient civilization had slavery.
I mean,
slavery gets shit done.
Question.
I think there's
question?
a reason we jumped there. What's your question?
About the slavery thing again, since we're really, really focused on it apparently.
Well, I'm trying to tangent us out of here, but you all keep bringing it back.
Well, I'm really curious. If scarcity is eliminated and we arguably wouldn't develop a market economy, would there be slavery?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, okay, we're talking about...
Is that yes, there would be slavery?
Yes,
or, yeah?
I think there would.
If
Because
there are humans involved in the equation.
Well, why?
People suck.
Even beyond
You're
that.
still gonna have beasts of burden, and beasts of burden are literally just slave animals. So it is not a logical leap to an ancient mind that a slave animal and a slave person are two completely different things.
Now, I would say it's a logical leap, for an ancient human mind. We could surely think of some, like Star Trek alien race that started out as hunter-gatherers with the ability to create berries that fill you up, and they're just real peaceful and happy.
I really just do want an explanation as to why, without scarcity and without a market economy, there would be slaves. I don't understand that concept.
I think because
Wizards are full of themselves.
Okay, let's
I
be real,
want a
though.
legitimate explanation.
People are going to fight because there's going to be these power structures that emerge in culture and society with the mages at the top, right? Because they have this power that the people don't have, and people are going to follow them. And eventually, they're going to come into contact with other mages, and they could get along. That's a possibility. It's probably more likely they're not going to get along. And so you have probably, before I see them as laborers, I think you see slave armies sort of fighting it out.
Well,
Although
for resources.
what is there to fight over?
Not
Talk about
resources. It's this idea of, control, right? And you have this concept that these mages at the top of this, hierarchical structure are going to want to stay there. And that's just, how it works in my head. I know that's not the answer you're looking for.
Magic would be an arms race. that is your reason to go out and explore and to gather more territory, is so that you can gain access to the things that give you access to either different or more powerful magic.
Now, that is something we haven't brought up, is the things, the components you have to acquire to make your magic work. We haven't talked about that yet.
So we're going for sure this is component-based.
Sorry, Clayton, go ahead.
Not necessarily component-based, because if we're going where mages are strictly knowledge-based, it's something that you learn, you would have to go out. It would be a major motive for war to go out and get your enemy's spell book.
Before we get off into that, one more thing that I'd like to add about the slavery thing is that I think that you're probably still not satisfied about why
I'm not!
it's absolutely
Thank
necessary.
you!
Okay, let me see if I can try this. It seems to me that if you get in a situation where, even on a tribe, let's break it down real small, you've got, 50 people, and one guy learns the good berry spell, and then he starts doling out good berries to everybody else in the place. Every other person who doesn't have that magic is by default a slave to them, because they are the sole source of, plenitude.
My argument is that in that situation, the thing that would benefit society most and the thing that I think would be most likely to happen is to share that knowledge. No?
That's not how ancient humans work. That's not how modern humans work.
Yeah, I think that when you've got a position of such huge privilege like that for one person, that implicit power, that even, it is theoretical that there might be the good druid somewhere that decides to, spread it or whatever.
People are like trees.
But somewhere there's going to be a battle druid who's like, all right, I'm the guy in charge, and I'm going to call the shots here. And that warlike tribe, when they come across the peaceful tribe, is going to mow them over. I think that there's just something about having power over others that kicks off something in the brain that starts this feedback loop of power acquisition. We see it in every single human instance where someone has a runaway track to power. They go mad with it.
Especially people who are born into that power. Every tyrannical king in history, either they built their own power and they fucking murdered and shit on people in order to get that power, and then they just continued doing it after they got the power. Or they were spoiled by having access to all that power, the ability to just tell people to do things, and it becomes something that the human mind just becomes accustomed to, having that power to say to anyone, hey, if you want to eat today, I've got this little berry here. I want you to go do this incredibly petty thing. Just think of any 15-year-old, and tell me that is not the basis of most human rulers.
Okay.
The fault here is humanity.
I was gonna say, this podcast has just witnessed, this poor, shiny and bright new soul come in and be like, but maybe not, and of course not.
Well, another thing worth mentioning here, aside from the, tyranny of the one wizard or whatever, there is no guarantee that the magic could be democratized. If it's an innate thing like, mutant abilities or whatever, it's guaranteed it won't. And even in systems where it can be learned, it's always presented as being this super high level thing that only the smartest people can ever grasp, or the most faithful or whatever the fuck you want to, qualify it with. So built into it is the idea that it's an exclusive thing. And if one small group or one individual has unlimited resources at their disposal and everybody else doesn't, no matter how benevolent that ruling group is, everyone else is going to be dependent on them and therefore enslaved by default.
Systems of magic inherently create an us versus them mentality.
Harumph.
Again, with humanity, I think we could imagine an alien species where, say, they procreate by literally taking chunks out of themselves and sharing to create something. And so they have this very, from the core creation of their species, how they procreate, baseline stuff here, they have to share. And maybe this alien species decides, oh yeah, no, just it's natural for me. Anything I learn, have, anything I ever will be or become, I share that. And they're like kind of this free love, hive mind thing that humanity comes along. And when we find them, oh, they're going to share with everything they have with us. And you know what we're going to share with them?
War.
Oh yeah.
Pestilence.
Smallpox blankets. Bad shit.
I think after this I really just need to watch a lot of Star Trek or game, I hope for humanity, etc., pandering to Kyle. It's fine.
But here's the horrible thing that we haven't even gotten into yet is the idea that it may not even just be the economic hold, as fundamental as that is, that one magical ruler would have over the populace. But you have spells like mass suggestion, where they could make them very happy with what they're doing. You could have a D&D North Korea in perpetuity.
You have such a light and delight and fire in your eye right now.
I really think it would be actually more like a D&D Brave New World.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Different classes that have never known anything else, and they're quite happy being, Omegas or whatever the hell.
I was thinking earlier they would be really lucky if there wasn't some breeding program of some sort instituted pretty early on.
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
I want to address this point of humanity is ultimately this dark thing, and magic's only going to bring out the worst in them. What would have to align for what Nina's talking about, do you guys think, to come into effect?
We have not...
I think you would have to have deities that were real.
You jumped same conclusion as me. Yeah, we have not touched on actual, verifiable deities with their own agendas, and you look at the D&D universe, and they're real. There are no... it's not wise to be an atheist in D&D and in many other, fantasy settings. And so then you would have, Nina, you could be a deity that, we're just oh, hell no. And you could, step in and just smack down, some Brave New World fucking class creating forced breeding de-encephalization of their slave workers. Asshole, and just tell him to fuck off.
I could see some kind of Tower of Babel sort of situation occurring if there are involved gods in a fantasy world like this.
Essentially, though, we would need an outside force. We would never be able to have an inward.
In order to grow up, a human needs a parental figure who is going to tell them what is fucking right and what is fucking wrong. And a deity would have to be that for humanity as a whole.
Now, theoretically, you could have some... You have a shitty society like we're talking about, and it develops for thousands of years. And then finally you have some mage that becomes so powerful that they are a god and can travel planes and time itself. And they're like, you know what? I like the way this has gone. And they could go back in time. But then effectively, they're just a deity. They're just a time traveler.
Or a dictator.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I think you might get both. You'd have someone go back in time and be a dictator. You have gods that are certainly totalitarian.
Do you guys remember that old Twilight Zone episode, a classic episode, where this one little kid has, godlike abilities, and he's holding basically his whole family hostage? And when he gets pissed off at someone, everyone's terrified that he's going to kill them in some way, and they're wish him into the cornfield, boy, all that kind of stuff. Imagine that with King Joffrey. That's kind of the world that I would see rolling out of this in D&D.
So is it correct to assume that the only reason D&D is exactly as it is in the handbooks is because of the deities there to keep things in check and grant power or take it away?
I think that's the only logical explanation for it to resemble quasi-Western European feudal system.
But you also have two way different ways that magic's dealt out. This entire scenario we've been talking about is completely based upon inherent magical ability. And like we said already, you have wizards in D&D that learn through study, you have clerics who get it through gods, you have druids who get it from nature, I guess. But in addition to that, because of all those things, you have a set, and I talked about this earlier, but you have a set way for anti-magical ability and, tactics to emerge and be successful. There is a reason in D&D why, yes, a mage is very powerful, but there are ways for, a warrior to kill a wizard, even at, higher levels. I mean, yes, it's difficult, but...
With other magic, though, there's nothing like a lead box or kryptonite or something like that in D&D. It's always I've got my anti-magic item, whatever the fuck that means.
I guess that's a fair point.
What would be interesting is like an X-Men kind of scenario with sorcerers where they spontaneously get born with whatever degree of magical ability. I could see, like, them sending out the golem sentinels to, wrangle up any kid that's, floating his playpen toys or something.
So just Jedi.
Yeah, something like that, and hauling them away for whatever purposes. But honestly, I think even if there was like an innate thing and a learning thing as two separate strands, I feel like whatever power elite are there, regardless of which side of it they come in on, they're going to scoop up that other thread and weave it into their own thing. It would be innately, hereditary magic and also learned magic that's privileged.
It's like Bibles being written in Latin, so you have to have a priest there to decipher and dictate what's
That's what I was
in
going
the
to
Bible.
talk about.
Talk more about it. You know more than me. I'm just regurgitating what I've heard from you.
No, I guess that is a fair point, that you have this idea that Catholic priests were against for the longest time, translating the Bible and other texts into languages that aren't, Greek, or Latin.
Vulgate.
And there's now other other Christian traditions were more on board with that. Saint Cyril wrote the Cyrillic alphabet, helped translate that, and you have examples that when in the 1500s Spain went over to South America, they would translate Bibles there into local, like, Native American languages. But for the most part, it's Latin or nothing, which I guess sort of ties into that idea of, in this Christian society that existed, power is who can know the most about the dominant faith tradition.
Right.
Man, look at it now. Now Latin's just the language of nerds and fucking power metal singers.
Well,
And English.
your example is interesting because that wasn't even the language of the source text. They just grabbed it, translated it from Aramaic, Greek, whatever it was,
Romans
Hebrew,
were the power at the time.
made it their language, and that's what it's going to be for 1,000 years. And they could, without magic.
Magic sucks, guys. Can we just not...
Well,
That's why I played a character that thought magic should be eradicated.
I do think there are some cool things that could come from magic, though. I'm glad that we went through, like, the gutter of what the worst-case scenarios are, but...
It occurred to me that introducing magic into an already unequal society might have better outcomes than having it from the beginning. If you introduce magic now and eliminated scarcity and whatnot, I think we'd be kind of on the up and up.
If you gave it to everybody, or gave it to the downtrodden, or are we harming the poor?
A lot of good questions I didn't consider before my mouth just started saying things. Thanks, though.
So, are you drawing a parallel to nuclear proliferation?
No, I'm really not. Mostly because I'm viewing magic as a not weapon, and for some reason, y'all are always just like, magic is a weapon, guys. It's here to destroy.
We can go down the D&D spell list, and we can talk about the 5% of spells that are not some kind of attack.
I guess you're right. You're right.
I had something to bring up. We were talking, Nina brought up bringing magic into a society that has already existed.
Not a well thought out sentence, not gonna lie.
It's an interesting topic. I do think that one con to that scenario is that we already have thousands of years of ingrained ethics built into us for what we at least, generally think is right and wrong. And so you would have a lot of people being like, but maybe it's not right to, like, make these miners just work and never sleep and heal their wounds immediately when they're crushed by falling debris. And
there would be
reanimate their
some
corpses.
really fun magical unions and strikes. That'd be a fun disaster.
The MACLU.
Everybody joins hands and makes an anti-magic field around the factory.
Oh, God.
I love it.
Also, it wouldn't immediately render all of our fucking mass destruction weapons into obsolescence. Like, a nuke's still pretty effective.
I wonder how quickly you would get into things like industrial technology with magic being there because of the input of energy that is immediate and infinite. The two examples that I grabbed off the D&D list were Shocking Grasp, which is a cantrip that creates a D8 lightning damage, and also produce flame, sacred flame, create bonfire, all the same thing for different casters, but same thing with fire damage. If you've got a bonfire's worth of heat energy, which is apparently what the exchange rate is here, you can get to steam engines real fucking fast. And shocking grasp, I mean, we know that Babylonians experimented with batteries, and so you could really quickly start getting into, 18th century level tech, like, fairly rapidly without that whole, 2,000 years of Dark Age or so.
I've read countless things that have said that if you had magic, then you wouldn't have the development of technology as much because magic would just do everything. And you just perfectly articulated why I think that entire argument is bullshit, is because the development of technology is all about the resources that you have to implement that technology. Once you have a form of energy that is plentiful and abundant, the sky is the limit as far as technological progress. That's why the age of oil has caused this incredible technological boom in modern day. If the ancient Romans had the equivalent of oil instead of using wood,
Timber.
instead of using timber, they absolutely would have used Heron's little steam-powered spin wheel. They absolutely would have used that for transportation.
Steam-powered triremes patrolling the
That's
Mediterranean.
awesome.
Which also would have undermined the slave economy really quickly. The slave stage would probably be pretty short.
We might, with the introduction of magic, reach like full like luxury communist automation.
Ooh, can we talk about space travel with
I was
magic?
actually about to bring it up because I keep thinking about bad reference here. Ruby, in the Ruby universe, everything they do, all of their technology is based on this magic called dust, and it's tied to the earth. And because of that, these people never reached space travel. They can't get it to work out of the atmosphere. And I was about to ask if there would be like a peak, like a limit for what magic could do. Like,
I think you would get to the point where instead of space travel, you would have essentially stargates.
cool.
Plane
That's
travel
fine
the
with
world,
me.
or plane, outer plane to outer plane, whatever.
Gate is definitely a spell, and plane shift.
What is it in, you had this ability in a vampire campaign, this like chalk door you could draw.
Yeah, there was the Apollinaire class and Vampire, not the Masquerade. What's the new one called? I'm just so used to Haley being here yelling about Masquerade.
The Requiem?
Requiem. Yeah, there we go.
Allows you to, as like your tier 2 ability, basically infuse a piece of chalk with the ability to like just create portals. But it isn't so much you
Like
choose where it goes. It's basically like, for the audience, there's a wall right behind Jordan. Jordan, if you were to draw a door in that wall and push open on that door, it would lead you into the living room. And that's how it works. It's not so much a like, you create like a portal. I mean, it is a portal.
It's
I
a
guess.
literal door.
It's a literal door.
You've cut a hole.
Now it is worth pointing out that that ability is endless. Like, theoretically, my character could have drawn a door on the ground and just opened it up and gone, to the center of the earth if he had like a clear enough shot. Cause it's like solid man-made objects is what it stops it. For whatever reason.
I'm just picturing a Brody Quest montage of you like drawing chalk doors and going through a wall, and then going through a police station, and then going through a university building, and then going through a tree, and you're just like making your way downtown, drawing doors in a straight line
Into the center of the earth.
Eventually.
But yeah, there is theoretically, if you were out in a field or something and there wasn't like a bunker underground, you could just because it's, I don't know, I'm not great with...
Well, we would discover the alien Hollow Earth.
Of course, lizard people.
What stopped it?
Man-made objects.
It's like iron with fairies.
I guess. Yeah.
Wait, always bring it back.
In D&D, you got a 5th level spell called Teleportation Circle, and if you cast it on the same place every day for a year, it becomes permanent. And it's a 10-foot diameter circle that can be linked to another one anywhere else on that plane of existence, regardless of what planet, whatever, and it's just unlimited instant travel between here and there. And it's talked about in the book like it's a fairly common thing. So every single adventure where you're guarding the caravan is nonsense. Because people are just taking wheelbarrows of shit through the teleportation circle wherever the fuck it's going.
Is there a spell of wheelbarrow, Jordan?
Yeah, Teacher's floating disc.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Underused. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so that caravans are out shipping, like, sea voyages to take things places completely out. The cost to, move goods from one spot to another is effectively nothing.
So why are there ships and caravans in D&D?
People don't read the source material well enough, apparently.
Nobody's worked out the logic of this stuff.
Like, that's, in my mind, that's just a cool thing to have. You don't actually think about how that's going to impact the game world.
Yeah.
And
no one wants to. Go ahead.
We've talked about fantasy hand waving, which is exactly what happened here.
Well, I mean, there's a fucking wish ability once you get up there in
Right.
3.5 that literally lets you do whatever you want. Now, there is some give and take there, but not enough to the point of where you're like, I wish for a space shuttle.
Oh, I limited the spells that I was even considering to 5th level. If you get up into 7, 8, 9, you get into weather control and plane shifting and all this kind of stuff. Like, forget
Luxury
it.
communist full automation.
There's a spell called demi-plane where you get your own plane of existence.
This is very exciting all of a sudden.
That's pretty much Mormon heaven, right?
The 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons book has a first level spell variant of create water that allows you to create rain over a particular area.
Mm-hmm.
So
At first level.
First level, yes.
Create and destroy water, 10 gallons.
Well, in the 5th edition variant of it, it specifically says you can have the amount of water that's in the spell just rain down over a specified area. I don't remember how big the specified area is, but there you go. You don't need irrigation anymore.
Mm-mm. No.
You can grow in the desert now, anywhere.
Unless somebody got a hold of it, a population explosion would occur pretty rapidly with this stuff. Especially if 1 out of 10 people could cast Goodberry, then...
Well, in
Not to
D&D...
mention medicine, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
You got all these healing spells now.
Mm-hmm.
In the core D&D book, it says that a hamlet might have 1 first level caster. And then it goes up from there as to like how powerful that particular spellcaster is. So a hamlet is like 25 people. So using that as your base, there's a little bit more than 1 in 25 people as a spellcaster. That is way more of a percentage of the population than what existed as the aristocracy in medieval Europe.
Mm-hmm. So if you've got one guy, and let's say first level, you're casting Goodberry, for instance, 3 times a day or something like that? So that covers everybody in your hamlet. What's everyone else in the hamlet doing? Because they're not farming. What do people do?
Fucking.
Well, they create art. That's what happened when sustenance-based economies fizzled out. They created art. They had more fun. They did more innovative things that would help society rather than making food.
So then the Goodberry guy is like, you goddamn hippies are sitting around painting paintings all day, and I'm over here slaving away on these Goodberries.
You're right.
Justice for the Goodberries guy.
Now, hang on. Slaving away on these Goodberries. It takes an hour to memorize your spells, and then it's going to take 3 rounds to cast your spells.
I was about to ask.
So that is 1 hour and 18 seconds worth of your day.
No, I love this concept of maybe the magic users are the oppressed group. No.
No, seriously, they could easily, hold these people down, put them in a damn prison of some sort, never let them learn any more magic, and just force them to slave away
like the Goodberry guy.
slave replicators.
I hate that either way here. We're just but slaves. God, humans are terrible.
Yep.
So let's get back to space travel. I'm pretty certain that a caster could create source of heat, water, food, protective environment, and all you gotta do
You're
then...
naming first level spells. Continue.
And all you've gotta do then... You could just ride on your floating disc. You just need a source of force shooting in one direction, so you can blast in the other direction, and now you're in space.
You're talking about Spelljammer.
Yes.
Talking
Yes.
about what?
Spelljammer.
Spelljammer is an old D&D campaign setting where you have flying ships that are controlled by wizards that have their own contained, environment and all that kind of stuff, and they can literally take off like spaceships and go different places, and many of them can also, do like gates to other planes and whatnot.
I want to play this with our group, by the way.
It's real cool.
I will run it sometime.
Sweet.
Can't wait to throw some giant space hamsters at you guys.
In the D&D, core rule books, is it mentioned that there are moons of the planet that we're on?
Okay.
I know there are other planes, but I'm talking in the plane, the standard core plane, are there other planets?
I don't know what the standard core plane is, but in Kryn, where the Dragonlance setting is, their 3 moons are the sources of the 3 alignments of magic. And they are extremely important. There's a white or silver one that's the good magic, a red one that is the neutral magic, and a black one that only the evil wizards can see that is the source of evil magic.
Nice.
And which phase they're in means that caster is stronger or weaker on different parts of the month. Every caster has a moon chart that they have to keep track of. So you don't want to be a good guy fighting a bad guy when white moon is waning and black moon is, or waxing, waning, you know what I mean?
That's cool. That's cool.
So to explain a little bit more about Spelljammer, essentially a solar system is in what is called a crystal sphere, and within that solar system there's generally one actual planet with life on it. The other celestial bodies, be they moons or other planets, they're generally devoid of life. But they are actual spherical things out in I don't remember the term. Phlogism? I don't remember.
It can't be phlogism, because that doesn't sound good. So you're saying to travel to other places of interest, you need to travel to other crystal spheres, basically.
Yes, and that's what the Spelljammers allow you to do, is to travel outside of your crystal sphere into another one.
The one thing that we only kind of touched on a little bit is what war would be like with magic, and I could easily see something like oh shit, I've lost the name of the setting now. Post-apocalyptic desert.
Dark Sun, Aethys.
Dark Sun, yeah. Magic war obliterates the shit out of everything, spins most of the magic, leaves shit ruined, mutated, whatever. I could easily see some power-mad wizard emperor versus some other power-mad wizard emperor just completely flipping the ship on everybody. And, it might be a mutually assured destruction kind of path. That it may not be a steady state society at all.
Yeah, magic, I don't know. I guess in my mind, it's so hard to predict a lot of this, especially with leadership structures, because even a 100% absolute monarch dictator, using the strictest, his people believe that his power is, derived from a deity. He believes it. The nobility, everyone believes it in the society, right? Even in that particular case, he still needs people to do things for him, or he needs people for one reason or another, right? Mm-hmm. Like you've always talked about with Abena, Jordan, you felt like you were playing chess and we were all playing checkers. Like, you could accomplish so much more efficiently by yourself, and we were just, running around swinging swords and stuff. Like, you don't need people. So, who's to say you don't actually see a decline of, population?
I'm going to make another general statement about humanity that will definitely be disagreed with. People are lazy. If I have to make a decision, if I am this absolute ruler and I have to make the decision of me spending a day going and do this fucking trivial thing, or sending 100 people that's going to take them 30 days to get there and back to go do this trivial thing, I'm going to have them do it so I can do whatever the hell I want for this day.
Right.
And there are limits to teleportation circles in many systems. We experienced this often in Ibena. You could not teleport our entire army. We had to march to get there. And you by yourself maybe would have done some damage, but you could not have taken on a massive horde of Viking or Death Fleet, alone. You did need an army to do that. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm guessing that in the Dark Sun setting, this plane-wide destruction happened because people got so powerful that they became essentially gods themselves that could wreak that kind of havoc?
The way that the magic works in Dark Sun is that the magic in the world is in life. So in order to cast magic, you have to pull that energy from the world around you. So whenever an arcane spellcaster, particularly one of the evil ones called a defiler, whenever they take that magic, they take that power from life around them. They don't give a shit about the well-being of the plants around them, so that it just saps every bit of life from an area around him to power his spell. Well, if that particular caster stays in that one spot, each time he casts his spell, it's just going to get a bigger and bigger ring of death around him before we even start factoring in the damage that his spells are doing.
Well, barring a caster reaching godlike levels, I think you're right, Kyle. They're still going to need people to do things, and you're right, Clayton. They're going to be lazy, and sure, it'll take a group of people 30 days to march and do something, but during those 30 days, given spellcasting leader can fucking learn new spells, drink a bunch of wine, whatever they want to do for 30 days.
I think that the only things that what the ruling class is going to spend most of their time on are things that are their immediate needs. Anything else they're just going to delegate, because it's going to be so much more convenient for them to delegate to other people to do those things that they don't care how long it takes, or it's an amount of time that they are comfortable with waiting for. Things that I don't see them waiting for would be like most of your acts of war. So that is where I'd see a lot of, going back to my earlier point of father being the war being the father of invention, all of their most immediate magic that they're going to be cast is going to be for that reason of being able to, in the time of war, like gather information about their enemy, or build up their defenses, or secure a particular area. I see that this leader is still going to need a ton of rank and file people in order to go out and do all of these other things that, even though they are very powerful, they still can't physically be in more than one place at once.
Probably a spell for that.
Simulacrum, clone.
I'm not sure if. Yeah, I don't think I agree with you. I don't think that there would be large armies. I could see there being, town guards or something like that to, keep people in line. But as far as, marching a battalion out onto a field, no way. I mean, one flying guy with a fireball and that thing is ruined. I think war would be a lot stealthier and a lot more rapidly decisive.
I completely agree with you. I see the majority of people who are going out being, military tactics being very reminiscent of modern day warfare. You have to have small squads, because anything bigger than a few people is just going to get fucking destroyed. It's gonna get noticed, and then it's gonna get fucking destroyed.
Mm-hmm. I think assassination would probably be the main thing, and you'd probably have a lot of people suggestion getting cast on, the king's cousin or whatever, and then that guy goes in and Manchurian Candidate, pulls off some shit, and then you've got a puppet king.
Mage-Churian Candidate? Can that be the new title of this podcast?
You go, Mage-Churian Candidate.
I'm here for it.
No.
Yes.
Downvote.
Lanina speaks up for this one moment, and I love it.
You'd also have a lot of environmental warfare.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to control weather would crush a country in a season.
Mm-hmm. The control weather spell affects an area of 5 miles around the spellcaster. That's a pretty big area of devastation.
It would devastate with natural disaster type weather, but you wouldn't have to worry about destroying their crops. You don't need crops. Get all your Goodberry dudes together and you can feed your people like that. So it's not like you would devastate a region's ability to grow food, which would be normally highly destructive. But you could, obviously, fucking tornado, massive tsunami type shit, and just, actual destruction.
I was thinking about two nations that were not at parity with magic, I was thinking about like how quickly, an empire would just kind of spread out over anybody that wasn't cooperating.
I mean, here's a fun question for you. Kyle, name your favorite empire from history.
Was it the Akkadians?
That would be the Byzantine Empire.
How big were they at their height?
At their peak?
Mm-hmm.
I probably would say stretched from the modern day Balkans to that's probably like Justinian. So like parts of Italy, most of North Africa, Levant, Egypt.
So how many, and at what level spellcasters, but how many X-level spellcasters would it take to wreck the Byzantines?
It's just completely annihilating.
You have to give me what level they are.
I don't know. I mean, say fifth. Is that fair?
Okay, that's not too bad. Man, there's a lot of nice spells that are third level.
What are we going up against, Kyle? Describe what Byzantines have right now.
Right now, we're talking. This is Justinian level Byzantines. You got, of course, the original Desert Fox himself, Belisarius, leading Belisarios, if you're Greek, leading the troops. And at the technology level this time, this is probably around like 600, probably actually pre that, probably like 500s.
You got those Theodosian walls yet?
You got Theodosian walls.
Oh yeah, baby.
Assuming there's going to be even a siege in which a mage could just teleport behind the Theodosian
they think
walls.
there's going to be a siege.
It's true. And I mean, you have like theme armies, so I'm guessing like pikemen, some heavy cavalry, but nothing, definitely no gunpowder at that point, that's for sure. Probably just some rudimentary, skirmishing tactics. Pitched battles are not a thing that's really happening at this point.
Okay. So there's one player.
So a mage at 5th level would have access to Fireball, Lightning Bolt, Fly, Invisibility, Silence. So Fly, Invisibility, Silence means you cannot find him at all. And also non-detection, a 1st level spell. So they can't be scryed upon, they cannot be seen, they cannot be heard. And they're not even limited to the ground.
So they cast all these stealth spells.
4 spells.
Now, can they still assassinate? Can they still destroy an army? Like, one mage, we'll start with one. Could they topple an empire? This historical empire?
If they could assassinate the leader, they could assassinate the emperor easily.
Yeah, I think a 1st level wizard that was patient and smart could take any real-world empire that ever existed. 2 things come to mind. Charm person and disguise self.
Yep.
Wrecked.
Disguise self, 2nd level spell, you could assassinate the emperor and then install yourself as him.
Yep.
Literally as him.
Hot dog!
I'll throw this back at you, Kyle. You know more about modern military tech than I do. What about one 1st level wizard versus like a fully decked out Spec Ops, United States, like, Green Beret squad?
Well, even still, with all of those stealth, we'll go back to, I don't know what spells are available at what level, to be honest with you, but we'll go back to 5th, since we just talked about it. If you are completely undetectable, you might get, like, the last member of the special ops team, like when he sees all his buddies go down, he like pulls a grenade and like plans to blow himself up and take down whatever with him.
Are we just
like we got explosives
encountering? Well, because it's just Predator.
Worse.
Is this just like a weird Predator remix?
Yeah.
Dude, it was at that level against Arnold Schwarzenegger and an entire team of like Huey flying Vietnam War equipped troops. It'd be just like Predator.
So Arnold still kills him.
But that wizard would also have. Is Dominate Person 3rd or 4th level?
Well, I was thinking Sleep.
Yeah,
that's pretty potent. Dominate is like 4th level, I think.
Well, these still require a will save. Yeah. It's not a guaranteed success.
Will is the dump save for fighters, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, Arnold's a pretty strong personality. I think he'd pull through.
We can't strategize against Arnold Schwarzenegger. Losing battle.
So you don't have to dominate Arnold Schwarzenegger. You just have to dominate Jesse Ventura.
No, that's true. Yeah. The sexual
with the minigun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Okay, go down.
I think you could probably dominate Jesse Ventura.
Seen this movie?
You never seen Predator?
I've never seen Predator. I'm sorry, everyone.
Oh,
Okay. Well, I know what we're doing after this.
Yeah, our friendship is suspended till
God.
you
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, Jordan, you don't want to know how many of probably your favorite movies I have never seen.
So I'm looking at suggestion here. Second level spell lasts up to 8 hours.
Wow.
What can't you do at that point?
Well, I would like to pitch the idea. Magic's really stupid bullshit, and I hate it.
Imagine if it
I
existed in
agree.
today's society.
It sucks because in actuality, in a game, in D&D, wizards are powerful, but there's just, like, they're not OP. But you throw away the veneer of the game, and all of a sudden we're like, wow, God, if you can't fucking stop magic.
They are
You're-
super powerful.
You're thinking of it like, well, definitely in 4th edition, and they're not overpowered because 4th edition is so balanced that it stifles the game. But I would argue that pretty much in any other edition, wizards are top dog if they have time to prepare.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so like Batman.
Yes.
So the wizard conversation is always, how much prep time do I have?
Yeah.
It's funny.
D&D is just focused on the tactical map. There's nothing at all considered on a large scale. I don't think there even is, certainly not in the main book as far as I know, even like warfare rules or anything for that scale of stuff, much less economic level things. But yeah, a wizard would probably get their ass handed to him first level versus first level against a fighter. But if that wizard is actually masquerading as a merchant, that guy's gonna be a fucking Medici prince in like 5 years. So,
Yeah. So this brings the question, do we, is magic something that should not be included in games?
what? Why?
I mean, you need to have a sense of fairness, right?
No.
Alright.
I think
Fair is
magic
not
shouldn't
fun.
be included in the real world. And lo and behold,
Well, yeah, we definitely...
Now hang on,
place that
I
one.
have you on a previous episode stating
you make
that
one
magic
joke, you make
exists.
one joke, magic does exist, just not in the stupid, horrifying way
Clayton.
that y'all make it seem.
Clayton literally just
God,
threw
yeah, no, I
receipts on
know.
you. How does that feel?
Really great, like, that's true.
Roll the tapes. Can we get that statement from Nina Richner?
It's just that I believe in magic and it exists in the real world, but that's okay. I hate you.
Thank you. Okay. Perfect.
I just want to be clear, this is not our magic system. We can thank one Gary Gygax for this entire paradigm of magic.
I know.
Gary Gygax destroyed the world. Wow, God, what a
everything
thought.
everything changed when Gary Gygax attacked. I'm trying to think of what our own fucking fully equipped super soldiers of 2017 would do. Like, it's like this one shot we played recently, the weird D&D and versus the Stargate SG-1 team. SG-1 got wrecked, and all it took was one simple darkness spell.
It wasn't a spell, it was my innate drow ability.
Oh shit, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Just like your little ink sac just completely took out, SG-1.
You've seen the X-Men movies, right? You know what the super soldiers would do. They would just shoot a lot.
Flashbang grenades would be really good against D&D casters.
Mhm.
That'd be a real hard concentration roll to make.
The only reason the flashbangs didn't work against you guys is it had the loud effect, sure, but I theorized that a complete darkness field would eliminate the flash of a flashbang, right?
Mhm.
So,
What about sonic weapons?
that might fuck up some casters and some other D&D classes. Also,
Rendering
like,
a caster deaf in 3rd edition gave them a 20% chance to fail casting their spells.
also, like smoke, gas, and like white phosphorus grenades would be pretty damn useful if you can deliver them and not just get them like deflected with a magical shield. Or, grenade clinks in, Tensor's floating disc. There it is. There goes the grenade way up in the sky now.
That would be a mage hand. I wonder what the concentration roll would be versus getting tased, bro.
Let me propose a scenario.
Nina had the speaking nose.
Oh, I see.
Is
that a thing now?
She went like this
I
for
did this,
a couple
and then
times.
I did this to signal that I had a thought, and then I put that thought right on my nose. Got it from Aaron. Anyway,
Very useful.
I love and the idea of disenfranchised non-magic users. Super hypothetical, really fictional, creating like science and technology to fight against like anti-magic technology in like the way that we have science and technology that isn't magic based. I think that's a really cool idea. Not just to float in the idea. Don't really know where to go from that.
I read a really great Harry Potter fanfic years ago that was like Muggle soldiers versus children trained at a wizard school.
Oh, well, that's a really quick, like, in the Harry Potter universe, that's a really quick, like, you shoot them because the wizards in the Harry Potter universe are fucking idiots. But you shoot them.
So this fanfic, how different was it from the scene in X-Men 2 where the soldiers come to raid the school?
Wasn't Hugh Jackman in this fanfiction, I'm guessing? There was no Wolverine running around tearing guys up.
No. That was just like Cedric Diggory, like taking grenades.
Oh,
Bless him.
Like jumping on him and like holding it to the chest and being like, "Harry, get out of here!"
Cedric Diggory
pretty much.
would be the Captain America of Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I could see some kind of like renegade resistance, like magic group, like sitting around just manufacturing wands and rings and teaching like use magic device to like, civilians and freedom fighters, whatever.
Love it.
That would be pretty fucking cool.
So here's my theoretical scenario for everyone. You're a caster in this day and age, right?
Mm.
But the only 3 spells you have are Fly, the Berry spell, and Bigby's Tripping Hand. What do you do?
Start a cult.
Yep.
Yeah.
Turn it into a worldwide religion.
It's a good call.
I would eliminate world hunger with the good berry spell.
Good call, okay. Do any of you use Bigby's Tripping Hand?
Oh,
I don't know what that is.
I walk around and I trip people I don't like. Well, I know,
Nice.
correction. I fly around and I trip people I don't like.
What is this? This one? This third one?
It's a 3.5 spell, right? Bigby's Tripping
I
Hand.
want to say it's it's one of the supplemental.
And it's literally just a spell that trips people.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no.
Like you can cast it and it just like trips them.
Yeah, that's
Holy
how I'd undermine
shit.
my critics. I wouldn't obviously use it. I would like challenge religious leaders to debates and then make them trip as they're coming onto the stage and going off the stage. So people look like
and because
bumbling
people are
morons.
stupid, they're like, that guy totally wasn't a mage. You see the way he tripped when he
Yeah,
fell?
what
He
a
got
dumbass.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Oh,
he had to say it was
you go into
legitimate.
politics and just literally just trip your opponents, and
Yeah.
like it would be the meme news.
Imagine the horror that would spread when people realize that everyone that ever debates you falls on their ass like an idiot multiple times, and it just slowly occurs.
Like
to
they can't even
people
get a point
how
out. You're
powerful
just
you are.
constantly tripping them. They're like, and so economic. and I really think for 4. Oh, okay.
You could really do some good in like war-torn dictatorial regions as well. Just fly over a field where you got a bunch of like assholes with AK-47s like oppressing, trip them all, feed the poor, feed the underserved with your good berries. Just keep tripping people. They try and mess with you. Fly the wizards
Oh
way
man,
up
this
there.
is the magic system we need.
I just really like that spell. And by like that spell, I've only ever used it once in a campaign, and it was something that got me. I was in prison, and we had been jailed for an offense that we were kind of guilty of, but not necessarily. And we, the guards were just like, they weren't trying to talk to us, but I was just a little shit, And I really wanted to get their attention. So anytime they would like start their patrol past me, I just use Bigby's Tripping Hand. And then finally, the GM just like pauses the game, and he's like, "Look, I don't like police brutality, but you've tripped this guy now like 5 times. He just comes in there and beats the shit out of you." And I was like, well, okay. The only time I ever used Bigby's Tripping Hand, never used it in the campaign other than that. Which makes me wonder, why are these these spells you would never use in D&D so effective in the real world. Like the berry spell.
Man, you give me virtually any cantrip, and I mean, you could pretty well run the world within a few years if you played it right.
Even just fucking prestidigitation.
Yeah.
You could get real famous as like a really, really good magician.
Yep. Look what L. Ron Hubbard did. And then add a spell.
Oh,
Any
no.
spell.
Oh, no.
Cults everywhere.
I'm gonna need to do a sec check on that tech.
I don't know. Guidance. Give you a +1 on your next attack roll.
That'd be pretty great. I don't know what I'm rolling right now, but I'll take a +1 anytime.
That's so
You're only
vague.
5% better.
Yeah, but that's pretty good.
It's that 5% that makes all the difference.
No, if it's... Well, shit, if you could sit there and prove statistically that you're 5% better than anyone else at whatever the fuck
No,
you're
you're
doing, that's
just-
pretty cool.
You're 5% better
you're
than what
proving
you
you're
were.
5% better than you used to be.
Right.
But only on your
Anybody
next, the
can
next
do.
thing
Yeah.
you do.
That's not so great. Mending probably isn't all that exciting, though it might be kind of cool to watch.
I mean, that's
but-
like... You just...
You'd never have to buy a new iPhone.
No.
You replace... Well, I don't know if that counts. I think it's just like torn clothes, right?
Oh,
With mending, you could earn a fortune repairing damaged paintings, artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, luxury cars, like really rich people's clothing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what it is, but this man is just a masterful tailor. I always bring my Gooch Sashi boots to him.
Gooch Sashi.
You heard me.
Plebeians wouldn't
I
understand!
couldn't even get the sentence out. I was like, you're what?
My Gooch Sachi pantaloons.
You know, it'd be real great to have True Strike.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
1 unerring attack a day.
Like you're guaranteed to land a punch? That doesn't mean it's gonna knock anybody out.
Who's talking about punches?
So you're guaranteed to land an attack.
Hmm?
I guess you can shoot a gun.
Just shoot
It's
people.
not a
Yeah.
guarantee. It's a +20 on your
That's
attack.
pretty well fucking guaranteed. Holy shit.
So you're guaranteed 1 good shot a day.
Well, however many times you can cast it a day. You can change the world with that.
Yep.
Lee Harvey Oswald didn't have True Strike.
Well, that we know of. Oh no. Wow, we're talking. Okay,
do whatever you want.
I think we need to. Let's. Yeah.
Power corrupts. That's the thesis.
Yep.
JFK's dead, everybody.
But do you know who else is? Ronald Reagan. How great is that?
No, who isn't yet?
You mean, Mr. If you can't make them see the light, make them feel the heat?
Ah.
What was the guy's name who shot Reagan?
John Hinckley.
John Hinckley. Yeah, John Hinckley doesn't have True Strike.
Did Sirhan have True Strike?
Yes. The CIA gave it to him.
Oh boy.
What do you say we stop all this bullshit and start rolling some dice?
Okay.
I got more to talk about. What do you got?
Alright, we can continue.
How would magic
Oh no.
change sex?
It would make it, well, depending on what spells you had available, it
True
could
strike.
make it potentially awesome.
The
Yeah,
female
right.
orgasm would actually exist in the world.
There might actually be studies about it.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Casting spells to increase your stamina, increase your dexterity,
Your girth?
I'd be summoning
enlarge.
monsters.
You have the enlarge
Daily.
spell.
Man. So magic would be really cool for that.
You have-
that
you
one
have-
thing.
Bigby's tripping hand.
Wow, you could actually make your girl happy.
BDSM with magic would be pretty rad.
Ooh.
Mage hand would be an interesting application.
You would have some, like, real... What, Nina? Say it. If you have something to say, you can say it to the class.
She's not even gonna say it to me now. Thanks, everyone.
This is a podcast.
No.
Don't whisper at a podcast.
Yes, you do.
Text it to me.
Well, you're also not allowed to, yell fire in a crowded movie theater.
You could bring in some really crazy shit from, like, other planes of existence and bang it.
That's what I was saying, man.
Yeah.
All the fucking summon things. I mean, you can summon every fucking thing in the monster manual at some point or another. So that gets you elves, you got dryads, you got every kind of elemental. You got
I won't fucking...
But summon monsters.
An
But
owl
some-
bear.
But summon monsters only 6 seconds per level.
Yep.
You gotta be
Thank you.
quick.
Real quick. You gotta get yourself there with the mage hand.
Haste.
And then pull in the manticore or whatever you're gonna.
Oh, it would make Solicitor's job a lot easier.
Yeah. Also, there would, like, never be unwanted pregnancies.
Nope.
I mean, fuck Mage Hand. It's Unseen Servant.
Oh. Dude, I would just seriously, I would just banish all of my jizz to like a weird dimension somewhere, so I know no one gets pregnant, and I got like a jizz dimension now.
The elemental plane of spooge.
Well, that in Planescape there is the para-elemental plane of ooze.
Ooh. Well, that's all I got.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we should just wrap it up with old KP's Jizz Dimension.
That's the new title of the episode.
Listen.
I hate everything.
This has been a production of Alien Familiar Media. You can find past episodes and more at alienfamiliar.com. You can email us at alienfamiliarmedia@gmail.com. This production is protected under a Creative Commons non-commercial attribution, no derivatives license. Music for this episode is Suburban Outlaw by Forget the Whale and can be found at freemusicarchive.org.